Ja, schönen guten Abend. Es ist wieder Donnerstag, 20:30 Uhr, der zweite Donnerstag im September. Zeit für unseren Flug des Monats August. Benni, schönen guten Abend. Was haben wir denn diesen Mal so im Angebot?
Wunderschönen guten Abend auch von mir. Ich freue mich sehr, dass ihr alle wieder dabei seid. Es ist schon September, das heißt, der August ist unser Flug des Monats. Wir schauen uns mal an, was es so gibt. Und zwar auf WeGlide. Wir haben mal die beliebtesten Flüge des Monats August wieder rausgesucht. Hier ist zum Beispiel auf Platz 10 Roland Henz, der ja letztes Mal schon ganz oben dabei war, weil er zum Matterhorn geflogen ist. Diesmal immerhin auch zum Aletsch-Gletscher nochmal, also diese Route in die Westalpen von Unterwössen aus. Toller Flug, 28 Likes. Und jetzt kommen ganz viele Flüge aus Südfrankreich auf der Nord-Süd-Achse, ungefähr zwischen Matterhorn und Puy-Masson. Sehr, sehr viele, hier Philipp Keller, Thilo Holighaus, Max Schäfer und zwei Flüge, die hier am meisten Likes bekommen haben, sind von Bert Schmelzer. Beide sehr erstaunlich, weil die nämlich nicht von unten von Südfrankreich aus gestartet sind und auf dieser Achse geflogen sind, sondern von Norden aus dem Raum Zürich, eben von Hausen am Albis gestartet. Ganz tolle Flüge, 900 Kilometer einmal sogar. Und wir hätten gerne Bert natürlich interviewt. Bert Schmelzer war ja schon mal bei uns und hat über den Bereich zwischen Engadin und Wallis gesprochen in einer Late-Night-Soaring-Folge. Aber dann ist natürlich was ganz Besonderes passiert. Und zwar im August hat Baptiste Innocent das größte FAI-Dreieck aller Zeiten in Europa mit großem Abstand geflogen. Ein absolut beeindruckender Flug. Wir klicken schon mal ganz kurz drauf, um einfach einen groben Überblick zu bekommen. Und zwar von Fayence aus ein 14-stündiger Flug, insgesamt 1500 Kilometer, davon ist das Dreieck 1310 Kilometer. Und er hat das Mittelmeer eben zweimal gequert. Einmal von Südfrankreich nach Korsika und dann von Korsika nach Italien ans Festland und dann thermisch zurückgeflogen über die Po-Ebene, wieder in die Berge eingestiegen, von dort aus dann nochmal ganz nach Westen raus bis ans Rhonetal und von da aus dann spät am Abend wieder nach Hause nach Fayence, hat das Dreieck geschlossen. Es ist natürlich überhaupt keine Frage, dass wir diesen Flug als Flug des Monats und sogar wahrscheinlich wäre es auch Flug des Jahres und was darüber hinaus nicht sonst auch noch, dass wir den nehmen werden. 99 Herzen hat er bisher bekommen auf WeGlide. Ist natürlich auch schön symbolisch hier. Und hier ist er auch schon. Baptiste, herzlich willkommen.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Baptiste. Welcome.
Hello. Well, thank you for your invitation. Thank you, everybody. I'm very glad to be part of your TV show tonight.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you here. And I have to say just maybe one sentence in German, because to introduce why we're doing this today in English. Wir hatten es ja angekündigt, der Vorankündigung, dass wir wieder mal was Neues haben, nachdem wir das letzte Mal ja als Neues angekündigt hatten. Wir hatten mal einen Teamflug von 2 K6, davor hatten wir einen Doppelsitzerflug. Und wir haben so in unserer Jury so ein bisschen überlegt, wollen wir das deutsche Sprachmedium verlassen oder nicht. Aber der Flug war einfach so eindeutig der beste, dass wir gesagt haben, okay, wir machen eine englische Aufzeichnung. Wir werden auch versuchen, vielleicht das Gespräch mit Untertiteln zu unterlegen. Das wird uns jetzt nicht gleich ganz am Anfang gelingen, aber vielleicht, wenn ihr dann später reinklickt, können wir das vielleicht nachliefern. Wir hatten ja im März, gab es ja schon mal einen Flug, da haben wir es eben damals auch von Baptiste in den Pyrenäen haben wir es noch nicht gemacht, aber diesmal war es eindeutig. Und dann ist jetzt also wirklich das Novum, Late Night Soaring is going to English. So we are really happy you were going to join us for this show tonight.
Good. Thank you, Matthias. Very good introduction. And again, I'm very glad to be a part of the flight of the month for the month of August. And usually the month of August is one of the best months in Europe, and the one where the most flights are done. And I'm very happy to be the flight of the month of August because it's a special month.
Actually, the score was gone on the 5th of August because we know this will be the flight, even it was in the OLC or not on WeGlide. And I think you loaded up last week or 10 days ago in WeGlide, and it grew up in the score up to, what was it, 99?
It exploded. Yeah.
Exploded, yeah.
Baptiste loaded up and then it exploded to 99 hearts immediately. So, Baptiste, maybe for starting, could you just give a very brief introduction of yourself and where you fly and what your normal flying activities are?
So my name is Baptiste. I'm 37 and I've been flying in Fayence. I started in Fayence since the age of 14 in 1999. I have flown in many places all over France, southwest, north, and mostly the Alps, Saint-Aubin and Fayence. Saint-Aubin when I was a member of French team from 2007 to 2012. And since 2013, I've been flying in Fayence almost every year and doing great flights in double-seaters, instruction, perfect flights for people who wanted to do more in the Alps. And that's the way I improved my flights in the Alps. My professional occupation is first officer for Air France. I'm flying Boeing 787. I'm flying long haul. Tomorrow I'm going to Argentina, for example. And I have time to mix both, a bit of airplane and a bit of gliding.
So, Baptiste, I've been watching your flights for a long time because sometimes I go on holiday to southern France and I do a lot of flying there. I love it a lot, and your flights are, of course, very impressive, and there's a lot to learn always. The flight where your name really first popped up to me as, oh, this is special, he's not doing the same thing as everyone else, was when once you did an out and return flight almost to Paris from Fayence, right? You went up in Wave and then you glided to the thermals in the flatlands. And then in the late afternoon, you came back to the mountains and went back to Wave. And then at sunset, you landed back in Fayence. That was really something. Might have been flight of the month at that time if it had existed at that time. And then I would like to share my screen to show something which happened earlier this year already. This flight, which was this flight. Yes. Which I think you did together with Gilles Souvron. It's also in the OLC, and now you also uploaded it in WeGlide. And that was the first time when I said, okay, this is absolutely next level. Maybe you can say a couple of words about this flight, which was on the 25th of May, and it's probably the little brother of the flight which we are going to talk about today.
Yes, so I have been dreaming of that kind of flights already 5 years ago. And you said that when you go in the south of France, a lot of time you hear my name and you see me doing long, great flights. And yes, I have been training for long flights for a long time in the Alps. So it's something that you need to be trained for example, starting the Wave and catch the thermals over Rhone Valley and go to the north and then go back with on ridge flying and Wave again for 12, 13, 14 hours of flight. This is something I have been doing for almost 10 years. So I wanted something next level, you know. I've always dreamt of going to Corsica, but 5 years ago, I thought that it was possible someday to come back into the Alps from Corsica. And I always wondered how. So I looked at satellite pictures. You have you have a good database of archives in some weather websites, and you can have the satellite pictures of almost every day you want for almost 10 years before. So I started to look at pictures and especially the days where the wave was present in the Alps and in Corsica. And I saw that sometimes in springtime, you had and the wave in Corsica and the thermals in Italy. And I thought that flight was only doable in spring. Why? Because of the plain of Po. Because over Torino, the thermals are good in spring, and in summer, it's overheated. And normally there are almost no thermals. For example, you don't see any flight in Varese, any flight in Novi Ligure, any flight in Torino on the OLC in July and August, because it's too hot. They do 100 kilometers and that's it at 1,000 meters, and then they don't manage to climb. They don't manage to join the Alps. It's almost impossible. And I thought it was only doable in spring. And that day, the 25th of May, the situation looked quite good to do that kind of flight because it was springtime. So the thermals in Italy were supposed to be good. And the wave over Fayence and Corsica was supposed not to be too bad. So I called Gilles because I never intended that kind of flight. So Gilles has a STEM S12. We're used to flying together in the Pyrenees. And I told him, okay, Gilles, I want to try something crazy. And I want to go to Corsica, which is quite easy to go to Corsica. It has been done a lot of time. But I want to go to south of Corsica, go back north to Corsica, cross to Italy, and try to come back in the Alps. If it doesn't work, if we are stuck in Bologna or something, it's only 400 kilometers from the Alps. So we have the engine. The STEM S12 has more than 1,500 kilometers of autonomy. We start the engine and we go back home and we say, okay, it's not possible. And if we manage to do this, it would be the first time. So let's try it. It's the day after tomorrow. Let's try it. And he came with the STEM. We studied the weather forecast and we decided to go. But that day in the morning, the wind over Fayence was blowing from the 265, 265, which is bad over Fayence, actually. The wind needs to be from 290 to 320 to create a good wave over Fayence. So we didn't manage to climb very well, but we were frustrated. And okay, we decided to start the engine back again, to climb to 4,000 meters with the engine and try to catch the good wave above 4,000 meters. And it worked a little. At 4,000 meters, we had a strong wave. That means 0.8 meters per second. But we managed to climb. We managed to climb 5,300 meters. And when you can see here, the glider is more over Nice, and over Nice, we caught a second wave. And again, we climbed 5,300 meters. And the distance between Nice and Cap Corse is only 2,020 kilometers. But in between, before arriving to Cap Corse, you have the airfield of Calvi in northwest of Corsica. And it's only 200 kilometers. So 5,000 meters, 200 kilometers with 80 kilometers per hour of tailwind. We had only a 32 glide ratio to go to Calvi. So we decided to cross. And it worked pretty well because as you can see on the sea, after Nice, we touched 1 and 2 waves. So we still managed to climb a little bit and to arrive safely over Cap Corse. And here over Cap Corse, the wind was blowing from the 260, which is absolutely perfect for the island. And we took 7 meters per second here on Cap Corse up to flight level 195. We went to Figari and back. And after we crossed to Italy, and the wind was blowing from the southwest. So that was pretty different from the flight of August, because here in Italy, we managed to catch a little wave from Pavulo, Rubiano to almost to Novi Ligure. We did it in the wave at 3,000 meters. And then there was thermal flying over Valley of Po, and there were cumulus at 3,000 meters over Torino. So there was absolutely no problem to come back to France. And again, we caught the wave in Italy, Lake of Mont-Cenis, and then we went back. But we went back without any wave. We went back in thermal. So we crossed the finish line at 1,500 meters, and the start line was crossed at 4,000 meters. So the 1,000 meter rule was not respected for that flight. So that was the first time someone was going to Corsica, Italy and back, but we could not validate it as a record because we didn't respect the 1,000 meter rule.
And at that point, you know it will work.
Yes, exactly. So that was the road was open, you know. But I was thinking of doing it again next year because spring was over, and as summertime arrived, I thought that it was not possible in summer because of Po plane. So I decided to postpone it for next year, for 2022. And when I saw the weather situation for the 5th of August, I thought, okay, it's good over the Alps. It's good in Corsica. The thermals are going to be good in the mountains of Italy. And the Po plane, I think it's not gonna work, but it's only 100 kilometers. So why not try? Okay, at the worst, I land in Cuneo or in Torino, and I'll be back in Fayence the next day, no problem. So I decided to try it that day.
Now we have the weather chart. Is it the weather chart of the 5th?
Yes, so this is the weather chart which is provided by the OLC from the Deutsche Wetterdienst on the 5th of August. The ground analysis chart, which is not very informative in this case, but what you can see is that generally we have the dominating low over Ireland, which makes a mostly westerly flow over Southern Europe, little bit northerly component maybe, but also a very flat pressure difference only over Italy, so that the wind was relatively strong over France, but relatively weak in Italy itself probably. And we cannot see much more here, but Baptiste, maybe you can show the wave pattern forecast which you used for the flight.
Sure. To be more precise, you've shown the pressure situation over Europe, and right, as you say, the flow was very low, very slow over the Alps and over Corsica, and almost no flow in Italy. But it's okay, because as soon as you are in the wave in Corsica, you don't need any wave in Italy. You just need to cross from flight level 195 to Italy and then catch the thermals. So the flow is good. And what I use to be more precise is SkySight, for example. SkySight is a good help sometimes, but that one, it's the model of Météo France. It's called AROM, and that model is very precise. For example, in the morning at 6 a.m., the legend is green are the lines of positive climb in wave, and blue are the lines of negative climb or descent in wave. For example, Fayence is right in the middle. I show you, it's not very clear, but you can see Fayence. And on the northeast of Fayence, you have a very large pattern of positive wave up to 2.5 meters per second. And then again, this is the chart of 17th of May. I don't have the chart of the 5th of August, but it was exactly the same. And just to show you the pattern, how it works. And when you go to the east towards Nice, you have a second wave over Nice, 1.5, and then a third one in the sea, 0.5 or 1 meter in the middle. So with this pattern, you can see exactly 3 waves on the way to Corsica. And this is the charts are used to know that the wave is going to be good. Here is another chart. And here is the chart over Corsica, for example. This is like that. So you can see that from the Alps to Corsica, you have again a very strong wave over Corsica, and then nothing in Italy. The days were very similar. The 17th of May and the 5th of August were very similar. So you can see the wave in Corsica and nothing in the north of Italy. So this is where we're gonna use the thermals. Wave over Fayence, wave over Corsica, and thermals in Italy. So basically, you don't need a standard wave to do that flight. I don't know, Matthias, you're used to do very long wave flights with southern wave, with southern flow.
You don't have
I
the
don't know
where we have either we are flying within thermals or we're flying in waves, but we don't have the combination out because we don't have the ocean in between.
Of course, in Southern Alps, when the wind is blowing from northwest, which is a more classical wave flight, for example, people going to Pic de Bure and Aosta and maybe further northeast are used to doing that kind of flight in the Alps. But when the wind is blowing from the west, it is completely different. The classical mountains don't give a good wave. For example, Lure in Saint-Auban, there's no wave. Pic de Bure, there's almost no wave. Les Écrins, almost no wave in westerly flow. But in Fayence, it is good. So I just need the wave to be good over Fayence, and the rest, the other parts of the Alps, I don't care. So this is why I think those flights are doable on not classical wave days. So,
and I think for Corsica, west is absolutely ideal because Corsica is in northeast, in north and south direction, right?
Yes, west is ideal for Corsica, but usually even when there's a northwestern flow over the Alps, the flow is westerly in Corsica. Sometimes you have northwesterly flow in Corsica, but it's when the flow is very large and it's very strong. It's only in winter, for example, winter and beginning of spring. But as soon as you enter spring and summer, the wind over Corsica is almost always blowing from the west. So the wave is usually better in Corsica in spring and summer than in winter, because the wind is from the west. Because the flows, as you showed the picture of the France, the flows are much much narrower, than in summer when the flows are much larger.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your flight. You started. You took off with sunrise, I guess.
Yes. Until the very morning, I woke up. So my daughter woke me up at 3:30, 30 minutes before my stand-up wake-up call, and I had a look at the weather, and for me, the wind was too weak to climb well above Fayence. I was still hesitating, but the day before I had a flight plan. I had called my friends who is working in as an air traffic controller in Marseille, and I told to myself, okay, I'm awakened, my glider is ready, I can be in the air by 6 a.m. So let's go. What could I risk? To be on time for breakfast, maybe. But okay, still, you need. Okay, let's just launch the glider and try to see how is it. And so I took off at 6 a.m., 30 minutes before sunrise. And as you can see this satellite picture, and you can see also on the pictures I posted on Wiglide, the first two pictures. The first one is just before takeoff, that one. So the village is of Fayence with the lights. And above, there were cirrus clouds, but cirrus clouds with a leading edge. And those were very high, but I thought, okay, there must be something. There must be something above. And when I took off at 6 a.m. and I stopped the engine at 2,000 meters, the sun was rising, and I could feel something was going on. And when I shut off the engine, I still had 3 meters per second at 2,000 meters. Laminar flow, 3 meters per second, sun rising, and I thought maybe there's something. And I still had almost 3 meters per second up to 6,000 meters. That is not very common over Fayence. Usually the wave is much weaker. But that day, no, I needed only 45 minutes to climb from 2,000 meters to 6,000 meters over Fayence, and which is a good performance, I must admit.
So it was a really good beginning of the flight, wasn't it?
Yes, that was a good beginning, and the best was with air traffic control, because at 3,000 meters, I called Nice to activate my flight plan, and I told him about my intentions was to go to Figueres, and he told me, okay, I'm calling Marseille. And 2 minutes later, he told me, okay, Marseille clears you to go direct to Figueres. Not bad over Nice, over in Class D airspace. But I told him I need to go to north of Corsica first, because I could not go to Figueres directly, because you can see the angle is very different. He told me, okay, I call you back. And when he called me back 2 minutes later, he told me, okay, Marseille clears you as you want, Cap Corse and Figueres and back as you want, flight 195. Not bad.
Not bad.
Not bad.
But do you know what happened with the wave later on the day in Fayence?
I received a message, because over Corsica, I received some messages, and I received a message from a guy in Fayence who told me that Klaus Hollmann landed in Fayence at 9:30 a.m. And I knew that
the information I got today by accident, because as you can see, I'm here right now in Saint-Gobain. It's a Grand Prix competition office, and by accident in the start line today, a guy told me he was at this day in Fayence when Klaus landed with his Antares and had to recharge the batteries, because he was running out of any engines, because there was later on in Fayence.
Yes. When I was a young pilot, I wanted to do my 5,000 meters gain of height over Fayence for the Diamond, and I always started at 8 a.m., 9 a.m. I never managed to do it above Fayence, and I wonder why. And just because in summer from 8 a.m., from 9 a.m., the instability is too strong and it destroys completely the wave. So you must catch it between 6 or even before in spring and 9 a.m. If you arrive later, there's there's little chance you can catch the wave properly. It's almost impossible. So that's exactly why Klaus needed to land in Fayence, because he arrived much too late.
We can take a look at the satellite picture now, because WeGlide now enables us to show or to look at the satellite picture of the flight as we go through the flight itself. So we can see here that it's still dark when the first satellite pictures are taken, and then only now, as you are out on the ocean, the sun rises, and there's actually a bright sunlit satellite picture. Yeah, and what we can see here is now this is you approaching in Corsica. We will talk about this in just a minute, but we can also see that the clouds in the area of Fayence get much less structurized in the morning than it was before sunrise. You can see here now that there's only a large field of clouds and no structure in it anymore. So that's probably what Klaus. So this is now 9 a.m. So this is probably what brought Klaus down. This is very interesting here.
Yes, you can see that north of Fayence, maybe 100 kilometers, the wave seems to be very good, but too much. Yes, here.
This
exactly
vertical line here, if you look at this and then go back,
Maybe that would have been the solution for Klaus to go straight east, climb 5,000 meters or 6,000 meters there, and then go south to Fayence and cross to Corsica.
I would now like to show a little bit of 3D animation of the flight, because the departure is very impressive here. As always, we use Soaring Lab, which has done a great job of visualizing flights for us in late night soaring from the very beginning. So this is the takeoff in Fayence. On the right side, you can see the map, and we are going through this very quickly now.
What is remarkable in Fayence, I'm just interrupting you, is that I took off towards the east, and the runway in Fayence is 10 or 28, and the wind in the altitude was from the west, but over in Fayence in the ground that there's never wind, almost never wind, except in winter when the wind blows very strong. But in summer, you can have the wave over the field of Fayence, but never any blow of wind in the ground. That's sometimes it's very surprising.
Yeah, that's surprising indeed. And now we see you climbing very nicely, as you described already, to 4,600,
yes, 4,700 I climbed very meters, well, yes.
And still climbing. Do you have any indication about the wind speed in that altitude? Was it like, how strong was the wind?
Yes, I had only 50 kilometers per hour at 3,000 meters and up to 80 kilometers per hour at 6,000 meters, which is not very strong, but the gradient is sufficient to create a good wave.
Right.
And it was blowing from the 290, which is perfect for Fayence.
And now, of course, we see you gliding out into the ocean.
I'm gliding out. Here I find a second one to climb again to 195, only a few meters. And then I crossed directly. I decided to cross to north of Corsica. How
does that feel to glide out to the ocean in the morning?
Yeah, that was the question I would like to ask.
It's exciting. It's impressive, very impressive. You feel alone in the middle of nothing, and the controllers are even almost not talking to you or talking to other airplanes, because it's early in the morning and there are only a few flights crossing from Corsica to Nice, and you feel alone. It's very exciting, but from the beginning, from Fayence, you can see Corsica. You know exactly where you are, where you're heading to, because the sky is clear, the wind is blowing from the west. There is no inversion layer, so you can see Corsica as far as 300 kilometers from Fayence. So you know exactly where you're heading to. It's not by chance. And here I arrived almost 2,000 meters.
Altitude you reached the island?
2,500 meters.
Yes, 2,500 and a strong sink behind Cap Corse before catching the wave.
Before we get that, I would like to show a couple more pictures.
Yes,
because this is
so
still
this is when leaving Fayence. This is Saint-Tropez at the far end, the Gulf of Saint-Tropez. Here, exactly.
And this is my favorite picture because of the boat here. This is so beautiful.
Yes, that one was beautiful. I had time to take pictures. I had nothing else to do. I didn't have
breakfast as well, I guess.
Yes, but over the sea, I didn't have internet, so I could not see the satellite picture, for example. This is something I sometimes do to look at satellite picture when I have a network. But in the wave, it's tricky because you're sometimes too high to catch satellite pictures. So.
And over the ocean, there's no reception, even if you're lower, right?
Yeah.
So
beautiful, yeah, that first one.
And this is Corsica, right? The view to Corsica.
Yes, this is Corsica, almost 100 kilometers. So exactly in the middle from the coast on one side and Corsica on the other side. And the clouds you see at the far south are above Corsica, almost half of the height of the island towards the south.
And this on the left here is Cap Corse.
Exactly. Yes. This is Cap. So this is the goal, because this is where the wave, you can catch the wave at the lowest.
Yeah.
You can arrive there 1,500 meters. You're in local of Bastia. If something gets wrong, you go to Bastia, and the wave is usually better here.
Yeah. So let's look at this situation now again in 3D. Because this is now, you're just crossing the ridge of Cap Corse right now in 2,500 meters. It is now, what time is it? It is now just before 8 a.m. in the morning.
And which is the altitude of the ridge over there?
The altitude of the ridge is 2,000 meters.
Okay.
And the controller told me that because they have a wind gauge in the north of Cap Corse, and he told me at sea level I have gusts up to 85 knots.
And you can see here that it's a very bumpy ride, so you're having trouble to really climb in the beginning, right?
Yes, the wind here at 2,000 meters was very, very weak. The wind was very weak, and it's only when I reached 4,000 meters that I found the good wave, the good 6 meters per second up to flight level 1905.
And there were no direct clouds in this area to show you the wave, right?
Yes, you had cap clouds over Cap Corse. There were cap clouds. The picture I've taken, but there were no rotor and no lenticular.
Yeah, and still it's a game of up and down that you're playing here. You're circling.
Yes, it's a game of up and down. I'm not happy because I'm not finding the hurt of the wave. I am above the rotors. I'm sure I am in laminar, but the laminar flow is disturbed by something else above. And I think that there were some kind of shear or change of wind direction or strength, because when I reach 4,000 meters, I need to come closer to the ridge to find the better wave.
If we look at this again in the height diagram, you can see here the arrival, and you can see that first you climb very well for a short time. And then at 3,500 meters, there's no going through. And then only after a very long time, you manage to go into the good wave.
Yes, almost 15 minutes. 15 minutes.
Yeah, took a long time.
It took a long time. But after, no problem. From 4,000 meters, everything was standard.
So how often you made the ocean crossing from Fayence to Corsica before?
That was the second time. The first time was 25th of May.
You did just choose this two flight we're talking about.
Yes.
Because
yes, exactly.
You're talking about this is standard.
It's standard because of what Klaus said from his crossings and what we've seen from weather charts and from our first experience. I think this is the standard.
So now you did 2 legs in Corsica. We can talk about in a minute why, but let's first look at the satellite picture. You can see that in the middle and south of Corsica, there's a beautiful lenticular cloud.
Amazing.
In the satellite picture already. And now maybe the story of how you flew the up and down legs in Corsica is best told with the photos you took.
Those are very impressive.
Yeah. So maybe we'll just go through the photos and you just explain to us what we see.
So this is Cap Corse, and you can see the cap clouds over Cap Corse. So this is a good indication for a wave on the lee side of the mountain. This is lenticular clouds forming above Cap Corse, but still very, very high. I think 8,000 meters or even above. But I'm in the wave.
And climbing very well here, 4,700 meters. So this is after you've solved the initial problem.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
And after, this is the view towards the south. So it's not very clear, but yes, almost 80, 100 kilometers further south, you can see the lenticular clouds you were talking just before. It's not very far actually. It's because it's a large how can I say, the picture is taken from
it's a wide angle, right?
Yes, it's wide angle. That's right.
Yeah.
And here is where I catch the second wave in Corsica over the city of Corte, exactly in the middle of the island. This is the second wave. And here the climb is good too, almost 3-4 meters per second up to flight level 195, and then you can see the ride towards the south. It's easy to make the 100 last kilometers to the south to Figari.
Wow, this looks like it's really just running with high speed.
Yes, and what is very, very surprising for the ones who know the wave very well, and for you, Matthias, and for the one who are specialists of aerodynamic and maybe fluid dynamic, is that you can see the first lenticular clouds, the lowest. The lowest are almost at my altitude, but much higher. You have another lenticular cloud, almost 10,000 meters, and the leading edge is completely different from the ones below. So the ones below are created with a standard wave, and the one above is called bidonceau. It's hydraulic wave. The one above is hydraulic wave. Here, you can see it better.
Yeah, this is the same picture, but a bit closer. You can see here the normal lenticular clouds, and this here on the left is the high one.
This is the lenticular. Yes, the highest one is only one wave. There is no second one. It's only one. It's hydraulic wave, and it's usually much higher than the ones that are below. And in the Pyrenees, for example, this is a classical picture. You have a lenticular 6,000 meters, and if you see above you, you have another beautiful one at 10 or maybe 12,000 meters sometimes. That's incredible. You're flying along the cloud. That was not the trickiest part of the flight.
Yeah, but it looks like a lot of fun. So It is
Yes.
now. So this was taken at 9:50 in the morning.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And you
So
reached
the
your
point
first turn
is,
point.
yes. So the point is, I had two possibilities, or maybe three possibilities. Turning my turn point in Figari, going back to Cap Corse, and then cross to Italy, but take the risk to arrive in Italy at 11:30 in the morning, and the thermals to be weak or even not created because of the time. So the second possibility was to go further south to Sardinia, maybe 50 or 80 kilometers south to Sardinia, and then back to Figari. And after the flight, I regretted, I should have done that, because even if there's no wave above Sardinia, if I had flown only 80 kilometers one way and 80 kilometers the other way, I could have found the wave over Figari again at maybe 3,000 meters. You see, the crossing is not very, very long. So I could have flown to Olbia and back. Even if there was no wave, I could have extended the triangle to the south. But I really, really wanted to be sure of my turn point and to be sure of my flight. So I stopped here in Figari. So I decided the third option, to go back to the middle of Corsica and to lose time to make another run south and north, who took me about 1 hour and a half to be back in Cap Corse around 12, which will be the best time to cross to Italy.
Yes, we can see in the statistics that you did 2 legs with each 95 kilometers at an average of 164 and 192 kilometers per hour. So it was extremely fast.
Not too bad.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very fast. It is very fast, but it's too short. Sure. I needed the wave to be 200 kilometers much wider.
Yeah. But so you describe it as kind of a holding pattern in order to not arrive in Italy too early. But exactly. It's probably a very nice holding pattern to fly in comparison to other possibilities. Much more fun.
Of course. That was fun.
I think you did some holding pattern in the 787, much more boring, I guess.
It is boring, and it's under autopilot, so I can read a magazine or something. But here, you just want to enjoy the scenery and the landscape. It's so beautiful. It is so beautiful. So yes, can you show me the satellite picture in Italy at about 11:30 or something?
Yes. So yes, now we can see both Italy and Corse. And now,
and yes, and you can, the first cumulus are popping up very, very late, I guess. Huh?
That's right. So
maybe that time.
This is the time when you first reached the turn point in the south, and now you're flying the legs in Corsica, and what we can see is that only about maybe about now, it looks like a structurized thermal sky in Italy. And before, it's really only, you can see here, it's just, you can see the green and nothing, no cumulus.
Yes.
And right now, the thermals kind of start. Yes. So it looks really like you were in the perfect place at the perfect time when you arrived in Italy.
I think so.
Let's first go back to Corse and talk about the last time you climbed in Corsica. That was to 6,000 meters again at Cape Corse.
Yes, with a very, very strong lift. I almost didn't. I think when I arrived to the south of Cape Corse and the time I exited to the north of Cape Corse, I did it only one way. And I managed to climb 195 without any problem. So I didn't need to make a 180 and come back in the wave. And you have the picture I've taken at that moment, and there is the beautiful lenticular above.
Yes, that must be this picture,
one.
Right? Yeah, incredible.
Hey, that's an amazing picture.
That one is very beautiful. So I arrived here. I don't know the altitude, maybe 4,500, and just riding the 40 kilometers north of Cap Corse, I arrived at 51905.
Easy.
That was a good one.
Yes.
So then I crossed to Italy, and I knew from the flight of 25th of May that there would not be any problem because the distance is short, and the wind is blowing from your tail, and there is no disturbance in the air. So you have a very good glide ratio arriving in Italy. So no problem to fly over Pise, to fly over the first mountains, and then to arrive in Pavulo, which is 150 kilometers or maybe 200 kilometers from Cap Corse. But no problem. This crossing is much easier than the crossing from Fayence to Cap Corse. And here you can see, yes, I'm flying above the first mountains northwest of Pise. This is those are the famous marble careers of Carrare, very famous ones. And past those mountains, you can see the convergence taking place exactly where I'm going.
So this is this line of cumulus here on the horizon.
Yes,
right.
Exactly. I'm still 80 kilometers from the waypoint.
Yeah, this is another perspective.
Yes, another perspective. And I was very happy at that moment because I thought to myself, okay, at the worst, I'm stuck in Torino or Cuneo, but I'm sure to arrive almost in the Po plain.
So I do have a question. How do you decide this turn point? Why do you take this one? Why don't you take another one, maybe 50 kilometers more to the east or not to the north?
Because this is the perfect waypoint to have the perfect triangle to be extended or to the south or to the west. And no matter the distance of the turn point to the south or to the west you take, this turn point in Pavulo will remain exactly the same. So I decided to choose that one because there is a gliding strip, and I don't know, because we've seen 25th of May that the convergence was not very extended to the east of that point, and if some trouble arrive, we still should land in Pavulo. So it's basically for technical reasons. It's not exactly for weather reasons.
Pavulo, that's a place where the E-glide was last year, wasn't it? Or 2 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I know.
And now we can look at the satellite picture again, and we can see that the convergence, which Baptiste is now aiming at, is forming right in the moment where he arrives, pretty much. You can see that right now. You can already see a small puffs of cumulus here, but only now in this picture you can at first see a line of like a street of cumulus forming here. This is it. Yeah.
Yes, but the pictures I've taken, you can see that the line of convergence were already here maybe 20 minutes before. So the satellite pictures doesn't show you exactly the small clouds, but
true,
that was the convergence when I arrived. But you can see that the clouds were not very old. That was the new convergence.
And it is now at 12:30 or 12:45 at noon.
Yes. And
okay,
I arrived at maybe 1 o'clock above the convergence.
Yeah. Did you think about the times before you planned? Of course you did, of course. But what did you have in mind for the first and second turn points? About what time would you have wanted to be there? Did you feel late or early at this point, or did you think it's perfect in time?
Early. I was early.
You were early. That's good.
I would say it was too early, but it's a good point for next time. If I want to extend to Sardinia, for example, I think that I have time to do that for the next flight. So yeah, I think I can extend 100 or maybe 150 kilometers to the south. That would be possible. So the triangle will be 300 kilometers larger.
Okay, I think we have to talk about the planning next year. We have to talk at the end because that's really interesting.
Right.
Get in some dimensions never flown before, I guess.
Now here, this is even a better picture. I think this is Pavulo Airport, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. This is Pavulo.
You can see that it's really looks like a convergence, and you can really see where the line of lift probably will be. Just for perspective, here the time is really 12:48 local time, and Baptiste has flown 849 kilometers already. So this is just to give it some perspective about what we're talking about.
I remember telling to myself, okay, it's only 2 o'clock and I flew 1,000 kilometers, so that's not really bad.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the start line today at Sandoban opens at 2 o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So there was absolutely no problem with the air traffic controller to cross all the Pisa airspace and arrive in Bologna airspace. Italian control is sympathetic. There's no problem with them. So this is the first mountain I didn't see because they were all over. It was all overcast by low clouds here. I fly close to Lucca, and this is the second ridge. The second ridge was also covered in clouds. And this is the valley, which was clear from clouds, arriving close to Pavulo. And finally, the last ridge was clear, and the convergence was exactly 30 kilometers ahead of that one. That point, yes, exactly here.
And you even extended beyond the turn point.
Yeah, to reach the first cumulus, to reach the cumulus, exactly.
The cumulus, right. And now this was the first turns.
Yeah, so this part of the flight was very easy. I flew up to Novi Ligure, which is almost 200 kilometers from here. In the convergence, my average speed was almost 125 kilometers per hour.
What was the wind situation? There was almost nothing wind.
Almost 15 kilometers per hour of headwinds. Almost nothing. And it was working pretty well. This is the first thermal, and the second one, maybe 80 kilometers ahead of that one, and then straight ahead.
Yeah, and then you did almost no circling, right?
Almost no, because the convergence was working very well. Here, the cloud base was 2,300, and a little further, it was only 1,400 or 1,900, and again 2,000 meters, arriving close to north of Genova, Novi Ligure.
We can maybe go back to the satellite picture and just watch the convergence build up here. And you can really see that
exactly.
Just afternoon, it builds up really, really well. And it almost overdevelops. Like if you look later in the afternoon.
There were showers.
Yes.
There were showers behind me.
So it looks really like you were in the right place at the right time. And then
the timing was perfect.
And then at some point.
Really perfect, I guess. Yeah.
This is really impressive. Good timing.
But sometimes for great flights, you need to be lucky at some point.
Of course, but this makes it even more impressive because this is only the second time that you've ever tried this.
Of course. So this is why I think this is doable maybe 5 or 6 times a year.
So then at some point you are north of Genova.
Genova, yes. It's Novi Ligure.
Novi Ligure, that's right.
Yeah.
And the convergence
Gliding up.
ends at this point. So
exactly.
What and the mountains also end, and everything ends.
Yes.
So what were your
Everything
thoughts in this
ends.
situation, and what was the outlook? Because we can also see the stellar picture.
Yes.
There's almost no cumulus clouds ahead, but maybe some a little bit. What did that look like?
Bad. So the 25th of May, as we said in the beginning, we went straight to Torino because we could see clouds over Torino at more than 2,000 meters, which is very good to enter Susa Valley and then enter the Alps. And that time, the 5th of August, at that point, I didn't see anything. So I decided maybe to go to Torino, and maybe I would have the luck to climb at 2,000 meters and maybe enter the Susa Valley. And when I had a better look over Torino, I could see cumulus indeed. There were cumulus, but I think they were only at 1,000 meters. And I thought, if I'm going there, I'm gonna land in Torino for sure. I'm sure to land in Torino. And looking at the south towards Cuneo, there were another really small line of convergence. You can see it on the satellite picture, but there was a little convergence with little clouds forming, some popping sometimes. And here, until that point, this is the very point. Yes, a little ahead. This is there was the last cumulus, and I climbed at 2,000 meters. And I think that was the good choice up until here. And by now, if you can extend the picture to the web. Yes, exactly. Here you have the choice with between 3 or 4 valleys to go back to the Alps or to the south.
Wait a second, I'm going to switch to the terrain view now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Here you are.
Here we are.
So here we are. So there are many possibilities. I can see cumulus clouds in the Alps. In the good parts of the Alps, I can see cumulus clouds very high, 3,000 meters. So in between, there are 50 kilometers. And how could I do that? So I could enter one of the small valleys. Yes, you're overhanging. So for example, the one south of Cuneo, southwest of Cuneo. Yes, this is the one. It leads me in the French Mercantour, for example, the park of Mercantour. But usually in Mercantour, the conditions are not very good. Or there is another valley just south of the one I flew. This is the valley of Col de l'Arche. This is a very famous pass. Usually when you're in the Alps, the guys tell you if you go to the east of Col de l'Arche, you land in Italy. And I was coming from the east. And I decided to take the valley just north of that valley. I don't know why, because the enter of the valley, the first hills are the closest to Cuneo, here, exactly here. I don't know why I decided to choose that one. Maybe it would have worked with any of those valleys. I don't know. Nobody knows.
I think we have one more picture, one more photo now from you, yes, which is just above Cuneo.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then I think afterwards you didn't have time to take pictures anymore because probably this was the most difficult part of the flight, right?
So at the far end, in the middle of the picture, you can see the clouds, but those clouds are in the Alps, in the good part of the Alps. So they are not in Italy. If you go for the left here, exactly here, you have very low clouds.
Yeah.
And those are the clouds I saw in Torino. Those are very, very low clouds. And that would have been impossible to pass from those clouds to the good part of the Alps. I think it would have been impossible.
So what was the distance ending of the convergence till the beginning of the Alps?
Here, I think it's a little more than 100 kilometers.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
and here in the valley, it's maybe 30 kilometers in 1 hour and a half.
Yes, if we look at the flight trace here, we really see that.
God. Yeah,
this must have been
I think
incredibly difficult
at all because
each thermal allowed me to climb 100 meters more than the previous thermal. That was very, very, very low, very slow. That was crazy. I was driving crazy actually, because I was sure I was sure to catch a good climb, and I thought, okay, that one is good. That is gonna make me climb 3,000 meters, and no, 1,900. Poof! It stopped, and I needed to enter a little more in the valley to catch another thermal to climb 2,000, and a little further to climb 2,100, 2,200. Wow, that was very, very hard, but it was still early in the day, so I decided to take all the time I had. I took my time.
So maybe it's worth taking a look at this in 3D,
yes.
because this is probably the most spectacular part.
This is exactly what I thought, that in summer it would not be possible to do that flight, exactly because of those moments of those 100 kilometers, very, very tough in summer. And that was tough, but possible.
I think this perspective here, this perspective shows very well why you chose this entry into the mountains, because it's really, as you said, the closest point, the first hill, closest to Cuneo.
Exactly, that's the closest. I was low. I reached it 1,300 meters. I don't know which altitude I would have reached the other ones, maybe lower. And here it took me a lot of time, but they were thermals, so I was confident because they were thermals.
Were there already clouds or small clouds?
No, nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. There were clouds, but there were clouds drifting from the good part of the Alps with the westerly wind. There were not clouds connected with the ridges I was onto.
And for context, for the time, it is now just before 4 p.m. in the afternoon.
Yeah, so the sun is still on the south, is still to the south. So no problem with the light. It took so long.
Yeah, you're just now at 1,900 meters.
Wow, very
now
high.
2,000.
And I need to change a thermal to climb 2,100, and another thermal to climb 2,300. And finally, at 2,600, I find a good ridge with westerly wind, and finally I can climb on the ridge to 3,000 meters. Now the next one.
It was still not this one. It's the 2,100 now.
Okay, so still the next one.
I would like to show this a little bit more slowly, because it looks so fuzzy, but it's just such a long time that we don't have time to show it in a slower motion.
1 hour and a half. 1 hour and a half on this valley.
1 hour and a half for 30 kilometers.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
I think I would have been quicker with a paraglider.
Okay, next time you trying it with a paraglider, maybe.
Arriving in Cuneo, I switched with a paraglider.
The so-called biathlon. Glider and paraglider, biathlon.
Yes. And here, finally here, that's the good point. And here I'm back in my garden.
And this is the magic moment where you cross the main ridge into the Val de Barcelonette.
Barcelona, and then you know that the flight is realized.
So at this point, were you absolutely confident that you would make it?
Yes.
Because
I know it by heart.
Your declared turn point was Serre, right?
Yes, I declare the turn point Serres because I was not sure that west of Serres I could reach it early enough to extend to the west. So I really wanted to be sure to make the triangle for the record. But after the flight, I regretted to not to have set a point much to the west as I did after Serres. I did another 80 kilometers to the west.
Yes.
So yes.
We can see in the satellite picture now that the Alps are very nicely developed. There's good cumulus clouds in the central southern Alps. So that's looking quite
standard
good.
condition. Yeah. Standard conditions with a westerly flow and not too strong.
But we can also see that it's drying up. So with each picture that's coming in, there's less clouds. So the evening is coming. It's now 6 p.m.
Yes, I'm turning the last cumulus.
Yeah.
Really the last cumulus.
And that's something I would also like to talk about a little bit more, because now you arrive in Serres at 5:45 at your declared turn point.
Yes.
And all you would have to do for the European triangle record is to just turn around and go home.
Exactly.
On a way which you have flown probably 500 times and you know by heart. And you decide to go further to Aubernasson. How did that feel? And was it a 50% decision, or did you say it's 100% I'm going further to Aubernasson?
It was 100%. I was going maybe 30 or 40 kilometers west of Serres, and the most I saw the cumulus to the west, the most I wanted to go there. But the last cumulus I think was a mistake, because when I came back a little low and a little late. To be 100% sure, I could climb again and make it to Fayence. But it took me a little time to climb, and I was not very confident at that moment. And I told me, okay, you're so stupid, just be sure with the record and then go back home. But I want, you want always to do more and more and more, and I almost regretted it. But finally, until Rozan, it was tricky until Rozan, and from Rozan to back home, the wind was blowing from the northwest, and I knew only with the ridges I could make it back to Fayence. Only with the ridges, no problem. So that was 30 kilometers of uncertainty between Aubernasson and Rozan.
Let's look at this in 3D again. So we are now crossing Lac de Serre-Poisson towards Serres, which we will arrive in shortly. And I think in 3D, this is probably the most impressive part.
Yes. So Gap. So on the right-hand side is the mountain of Seuse.
Yeah.
Seuse, Pic de Bure, yes, on the right.
Seuse, Pic de Bure here, yeah.
Let's go. So I'm arriving in Serres quite high, so no problem to go back home. But the time is, I would have been ahead of schedule and I didn't want to land 2 hours and a half before sunset. I would have regretted it not to have extended the triangle. So I decided to extend. Here I'm arriving in Serres and I'm going to the west, and the conditions look pretty good, but as you say, drying up. But I'm used to flying there in the evening, so for me it was no problem. I thought at first.
But still, in Serres, you reached at about 2,000 meters, and then you never again reached 2,000 meters for the rest of the flight.
No,
so that's really something.
But in this part of west of Serres, when you are at 1,700 meters, it's pretty good. There is no problem to go further.
Yes. And there was almost no wind in this situation, right?
No, here at that point there was no wind.
So now you fly out to the last cumulus?
Exactly, the last cumulus before Rhone Valley.
And it doesn't work.
Not really, not much. And I'm going back, and here I'm a little too low to pass the pass between Aubernasson and the south. And that's the point I told me that I was so too stupid.
Yeah, now you have to make a couple turns in zero climb just
exactly
to stay in flight. And you are now 1,200 meters above sea level only, and that in the mountains, that's really low.
Yeah, it's not very high.
Yeah,
but still, the sun is in the west, and the ridge it's a western ridge, so no problem. The thermals should be here, you know, but it was a bet, and I was not very happy with that. And here at that point, there is no problem because the wind was blowing a little bit from the northwest, and the thermals are very good on the northwestern slopes, but to Rozan. So here I was confident. There was almost no problem.
So what time of the day we are now?
It's now 6:45.
Almost 7. Yes.
Yeah.
And sunset was at 5th of August.
9 p.m. The sunset is 9 p.m. So the sun is still high in the sky, so no problem. And you can see the drift in the thermals.
Yeah, so there's a slight northwest wind.
Yes, but here 20 kilometers per hour are sufficient for the ridge to be good to Saint-Auban, for example, no problem. And here I'm only making ridge flying to Fayence from that point. So Rozan, and then mountain of Chabre. This is very well known by pilots who fly in Southern Alps with northwest wind. The mountain of Chabre, from Rozan to Chabre, and then to Puy-Moisson, and then to Fayence. It's very easy to fly only on the ridges. Okay, here's the mountain of Chabre. I try to take thermals, but the ridge flying is better, much better. And then I cross, here I take another small thermal. Huh? You remember that. I'm crossing above Sisteron to the mountain of Gaches here. And then Gaches, Auton, La Bigue, and Coupe. With this kind of weather situation, westerly wind decreasing in the evening, the more you go to the east, the stronger is the wind in the evening. So the more I was going to the east, the more I knew that the wind were going to be stronger on Coupe and Cheval Blanc.
And now the Coupe is what brought you home.
Exactly, because there were almost 30 kilometers per hour of westerly wind, and no problem to go back home. It was still early in the evening. I'm used to arriving here at 8 p.m.
Yeah, now it was 7:40 around. Yeah, yes. So you were a little bit early.
A little bit early, yes. Yes,
yeah,
and here I'm flying back to Fayence with no problem.
And you have almost final glide at this point, right? Lac de Saint-André-les-Alpes.
Yeah. Exactly.
And this time you respect the 1,000-meter rule of altitude?
Of course, because I took the start at 2,000 meters and I passed the last pass at 1,400 or 500 here.
And the blue marker is the finish line, and you cross it at
exactly
1,400 meters above sea level, so no problem.
Yes,
and
no problem.
This makes you the new holder of the European long-distance triangle record.
I hope so. I hope so. It's still not validated, but
I guess it takes some time.
I sent all the papers already.
But actually, I think that's 2 records. It's a declared distance.
Yes.
It was 1,187, like or something like that.
Yes, 1,178
or 78.
and 1,300.
Yeah, okay. First of all, congratulations for the 2 records. I guess
Thank you,
that's no
Matthias.
problem with FIR. The first one, I think the greatest, the longest distance is from 1979. It was Klaus Wedekind, 1122 kilometers. So that's a record. It's for 40 years, and you break it after 40 years. It's unbelievable.
I'm glad.
And where was this flown from Klaus Wedekind?
It was flown within Germany. It's a German class record. It wasn't an European record because it was flown well before the records. So
Yes.
the record list, there's a flight of Alexander Müller with 1100.
Yes, it's Alexander. Okay.
But actually the greatest triangle was flown from Klaus Wedekind, 1122 kilometers.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Within age 25. I think it was 79. It was flown within Germany.
Wow, okay.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit. What is possible? I think the last turn point, there's nothing more. You can go at the end, not more, to the far northwest. That's it.
Yeah, Matthias, to be honest, this flight has been done in the 5th of August, so very late in the season. Imagine the same conditions in the month of June. I can take off 45 minutes earlier and land maybe 1 hour and a half later than I did. So possibly I can have 2 hours more to do that flight. And if I'm not flying the way and back I've done in Corsica, the 150 kilometers, I think I could extend it to 1,500 kilometers in triangle.
Yeah, but at what point? You can't do nothing in the northwest.
Yes, I think I can do something in the northwest because I arrive late. I think I can arrive early if I take off earlier, because in July or in June I can arrive here earlier, and if I don't lose 1 hour in the valleys coming back to the Alps, I can arrive much earlier in the northwest. So what is possible is not to fly to Aubonasson, but maybe to fly a little more to the north, to Valence, for example, in the middle of Rhone Valley, and then come back, not from Aubonasson, but from the Vercors, much north. And that is possible because at 7 p.m., I'm used to flying there at 7 p.m. and go back to Fayence. So there is no problem. So this point can be extended as much as maybe 50 kilometers in total, or maybe 60 or 70 kilometers. And to the south, if we find a wave in Sardinia, only 100 kilometers south of Figari, if I find a wave there, I think I can extend the triangle 200 kilometers to the south.
Okay. I'm not sure right now, but I think the world record is around 1,500 kilometers flown in Argentina.
Unfortunately, the world record is 1,750 kilometers.
Oh, okay. So I'm wrong. Okay.
Technically, it can be possible. Technically, it's possible. I don't know if one day the weather will be good enough to do that world record, but beyond the world record, the greatest triangles ever made outside Argentina are 1,400 kilometers in Namibia or South Africa or maybe the US. And I think if I can fly 1,500 kilometers, it would be the greatest triangle in the world except Argentina. But I think it's possible. I think it's really possible.
You said maybe in June because the day is much longer in June, but do you have that kind of weather in June as well? Because we have the Föhn, where we're flying our long wave flight, we have it in the end of April, maybe beginning of May, and we have it at the end of the year, maybe in September. I can remember just one Föhn was in July. It was, Benny, 3 years ago, or what was it?
Yeah, that was in June, even 2 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year, yes, last year in June, I've done a wave flight with a friend of mine. That was in June, last year in June. But even if it's not in June, it can be at the end of May, as we did in the 25th of May. And the 25th of May, the day is much longer than the 5th of August.
Yeah, of course.
You have 1 hour more.
So it stays interesting, doesn't it?
Yes.
That's the fun of our sport. It's always getting interesting more.
I think this route is amazing because the possibilities are very, very, very extended.
Yeah, it's an amazing flight. You have wave flight, you have thermal flights, you have
incredible
flight, everything. So
it's beautiful, and the landscape is beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. I really love doing that flight, and I want to go back.
Okay, I think Benjamin.
Yeah, I think all that's left to say is, again, congratulations to Baptiste, and just all hats tipped. This is just incredibly impressive. When you uploaded the flight to the online contest in the on the evening of the landing, I looked at the flight in 3D already in Soaring Lab, and it was better than any movie in the cinema which I had ever seen. And from this point on, of course, I really hope that we would get you to Late Night Soaring to talk about this flight in the detail which we were able to now, and that was extremely interesting.
Hope so.
For us, and I think it will be extremely interesting for the audience as well. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks to you, all the images and all the 3D and the satellite pictures. I really liked it because it shows exactly how the conditions were during that flight, and I could really be in the glider again, flying that flight again. Thank you, both of you. Very, very, very nice of you.
Okay, so thank you very much. And we're looking forward for the flight of the month of September. So we're going to see us in 1 month again. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.